Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have so much fun today. In the pre-chat, discovered that my guest and I live, I don't know, maybe 10 miles apart from each other. Obviously we're going to get together at some point and have a really good time. But until then, I get a chat with him today on this podcast. And so please join me in welcoming Darryl Bumpass Sr. to our program today. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, Deb. I appreciate you having me on your platform. This is one of the dates I had circled.
I love it. I love it. Circled in red, right?
That's right.
Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this.
Okay.
So Darryl Bumpass Sr. is a self-investment speaker, certified life coach, and best-selling author with over 30 years of entrepreneurship and leadership. As a self-investment expert, he's experienced in speaking to diverse industries, repeatedly yielding exceptional results. He's the author of, now pay attention to this, folks, this is a big list. I Know You Hear Me, but Are You Listening? We Need to Talk, Mr. and Mrs. Distraction, and the one that I liked reading, You Need an Income, Not a Job, and then the one that was a couple years ago, How to Become Motivated in a Coronavirus Pandemic. Darryl wants to transform others' lives in every way possible. He's a highly successful life coach, author, and speaker, consistently rated as exceeded expectations. So again, welcome to the program, Darryl.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. I really appreciate you.
We really are going to have so much fun. But what I always like to start with is to ask my guests how they got to where it is that they are today and how you discovered that for right now, this is your passion in life.
Well, first, we've already had fun in the green room. So
I know, I really should record those.
Right. So what got me started being of service is I was at the hospital and my father was on his hospital bed and my mother was on one side and I was on the other side. And Deb, he was dying of lung cancer. So he was dying of lung cancer and he looked at my mother, he looked at me, he looked at my mother, he looked at me, and he started saying, "Mom, Mom." He was calling his mother that had transitioned before him. And I looked at my father and I said, the family is going to be okay. You can go. And he took his last breath. So at that moment, it shook my world, Deb. It shook my foundation.
Right.
My best friend, my hero was gone. But it made me realize that you can't take time for granted. You can't take life for granted. So I began to journal the trauma that I was experiencing. And as I was writing in my journal, which I would say to your listeners, and when I advise to my life coaching clients, is that journaling is very therapeutic. It helps you relieve stress. It helps you redirect any self-doubt, self-criticism. It helps you redirect from self-criticism to being focused. So while I was writing in my journal, I heard a voice from my father, And it sounds like he said to me, Darryl, someone needs to read what you are writing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone needs to hear the words that you are saying. So I turned the journal into a book. And the book became a bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book is the book you can see in my backdrop. I know you hear me, but are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Because my father was saying all the years that he was trying to teach me how to fish, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
he was saying, I know you hear me, but are you listening?
Right.
And when he came to me as I was writing my feelings in a journal,
Mm-hmm.
again, he said, I know you hear me, but are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Hence the title of the first book, I Know You Hear Me, But Are You Listening? And being with the success of the first book, it led me into speaking, becoming a public speaker. And I'm a self-investment speaker with
Mm-hmm.
a motivational delivery,
Mm-hmm.
which led me into becoming a certified life coach, best-selling author, certified life coach. And I was able to start reaching people. And so many of my clients were coming to me saying that they were having trouble with the trauma that they were experiencing. Mm-hmm. So I was able to pivot from, while all this was going on, I was working in telecommunications.
Mm.
And it was a great job at the time. But because of the trauma that I had faced, it allowed me to pivot and push me into my assignment, which is helping people get out of their own way and get to their next level.
I love that. And I love that you say, helping people to get out of their own way, because kind of along with that is we're our own worst enemy, right?
Yes.
And you as you said, you talk about how to do self-investment, as in you are investing in yourself.
Yes.
And so, it's not just financial, right? So how are you, how should we be investing in ourselves?
It's a great question, Deb. Great question. So first, before we can even get into discussing financial literacy or building a legacy, or we have to get out of our own way. Mm-hmm. We have to get off the struggle bus. Now, how do we do that? It's what your listeners will ask, is what my clients ask me. So the two questions that I always pose to my life coaching clients is, one, what are your goals? And two, what are your distractions? Mm. So we can't reach our goals until we eliminate our distractions. Mm-hmm. First, the three hardest things for people to say is, one, I love you. Mm-hmm. Two, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And three, which is my favorite, I need help.
Most important. Yep.
Most important. Most people feel that to ask for help is a sign of weakness.
Right.
But that is so far from the truth. Mm-hmm. It takes a strong person to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So before we can even think of our goals and our purpose, we have to ask for help first and surround ourselves with like-minded people, mm-hmm. the people that are going to understand the direction that we're going in. Mm-hmm. Because most of the times, the journey that you are on is a lonely journey. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to create that support group, that wellness group that will mm-hmm. do a wellness check on you. Mm-hmm. And once we can establish these things, then we can start looking at how we can go after our goals. Mm-hmm. how we can go and touch our dreams.
Right.
So what I suggest to my clients is to implement my 4-step self-investment method.
Okay. So what's the 4 steps?
Okay. Now, make sure everyone turns up their speakers so that they can all hear this.
Take notes, folks. Take notes, unless you're driving.
Unless you're driving. We don't want that. So my 4-step self-investment method is, number 1, have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Franklin says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
Number 2, eliminate Mr. and Mrs. Distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Hence my book, Mr. and Mrs. Distraction. Eliminate Mr. and Mrs. Distraction. Mm-hmm. Distractions can come in all shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. It can be co-workers, associates, TV, food. So it comes in all shapes and sizes. So eliminate Mr. and Mrs. Distraction. Mm-hmm. Number 3 would be execute your goals. Mm-hmm. Execute your goals. And I need for them to understand that when you have this big goal, break it down into smaller goals so that it will become much more manageable.
Right. Because if you can't do it, you're not going to even try.
That's right. You will become impatient. Mm-hmm. And you may give up. Mm-hmm. And that's when the self-doubt and the self-criticism starts to creep in.
Right.
So execute your goals. Break down your big goals into smaller mm-hmm. goals so that they will become much more manageable. Mm-hmm. So number 1 is have a plan. Number 2 is eliminate your distractions. Number 3 is execute your goals. And number 4, which is one of the most important also, trust the process. Mm. Trust the process. The process will manifest success. Mm-hmm. But you have to be patient with the process.
Right.
So again, we'll reiterate.
Mm-hmm.
Have a plan. Eliminate your distractions. Execute your goals. And trust the process.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And it's funny in my notes that, when I was reading your book, one of the things I wrote down, plan in all caps. Mm-hmm. And then I also put in here, it is not immediate. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that many people have is they expect that they're going to be the overnight success, the right. overnight millionaire, all of those various things. And that's not going to happen, no. Very rarely. But there was one person who won the Mega Millions, right. Very rarely is there something that happens immediate. It is a process that takes time. So talk to us a little bit more about being patient.
So being patient is you have to understand that the process may take some time and you should really appreciate this process because you will be able to understand how you got there. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to understand what it took to get there. Right. And you also will be able to explain it to others. Mm-hmm. Right? If it happens too quick or overnight, mm-hmm. this is when we start experiencing this imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm.
Right. We have to pay our dues, so to speak.
We have to pay our dues. We have to put in the sweat equity. Mm-hmm. And understanding the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 principle. Mm-hmm. So some people may focus 80% of their time on working harder. Mm-hmm. But if you apply yourself with 20% of working smarter, mm-hmm. it will be a lot more beneficial.
Right.
So let's just use an example as a athlete, mm-hmm. right? Let's go with Coach Prime.
Yeah, my Coach Prime. Go Buffs.
Let's go with Coach Prime. So the amazing things that Coach Prime and his team and his staff is doing in Colorado right now, if we look closely, there's a process to what he's trying to accomplish.
Right.
But we have to be patient to see that they will become victorious.
Right.
So
we're not winning the championship next year, folks. Sorry.
Right. But we have to be patient in order to see that, in order to follow the process. And there may be some that don't understand the process and they want the microwave win. They want it right now. But when you understand the process and when you're being patient with yourself, and before you can be patient with yourself, you have to, it's imperative that you are honest with yourself.
Right.
Because if when you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with others. When you're honest with others, you could be honest with the process.
Right.
You'll be honest with having patience. And that's just with anything in life.
Right. And it's interesting. One of the things that Coach Prime has been criticized for is the fact that, a lot of the former players he no longer has, and he went to the transfer portal and has a lot of upperclassmen. Right. And so people are like, oh, you've got these older kids in there. Well, what he did was he brought in experience.
Right.
He brought in mentors.
Right.
He brought in all of the pieces to make that foundation, as opposed to the whole bunch of little freshmen who were just going to run around out there and go, oh my gosh. You have to have that more experienced talent, or, and it doesn't matter, football, your business, whatever, you need that in order to be successful.
Right. I agree 100%. And what he also did is, out of the 4 steps that I mentioned, would be number 5, but actually just a bonus would be look at the blueprint of someone that you admire.
Right.
Right. So what he did was surround himself with, and his team with, winners.
Right.
With other winners, so that the teammates will be able to see the examples that is being set for them.
Right.
So with the patience, with the process, look at someone that you may admire and look at their blueprint. And after looking at their blueprint, you will realize that it took time for them to get to the position that they are in today. But if we choose not to do that, or we choose to ignore that, then we're only setting ourselves up for failure.
Right. Yeah. Because a lot of times what that has meant is we have skipped steps.
Indeed.
And, say with your business, you might have, purchased a product, or maybe even a business, but, you didn't do the steps to build it up and learn how to do it and all of those things. The thing, say with franchises, the thing about a franchise is you are buying all of those steps. You're buying that process and then learning from it. It's not that you go from A to, Z and skip everything in between. You have to do all of those other steps that are in there.
Right. I agree. Such as when you built Wise Women Communications, right? It was a process.
Right.
But you had to be patient with the process in order for it to become what it is today. And creating the Business Power Hour. It took time to get to where you are today, but it was a process. But the most important part of that process was you being patient with yourself and you being patient with the process.
Right. And knowing it's going to be hard. I think the average, the number of, there's thousands of podcasts that are out there, but I think they say the average podcast goes 34 episodes.
Right.
And then stops. Right. Because they do just, maybe it wasn't their passion.
Right.
It is hard work. And it's, it's not all that expensive, but there are costs associated with it. While you're doing this, you're not doing your business. Now, this is a business tool for me.
Right.
And I always see that as a business tool. But yeah, I mean, and again, that's the whole thing with learning from other people who've been there and done that.
Yeah.
I've have people who come to me and say, how did you do this? And I said, one episode at a time. And
Right.
it sounds really stupid, but and I don't think you could pay me to go back and listen to those first episodes because they were pretty rough. And there's still, there are things where I would change in every one of them,
Right.
but that's okay. Because we keep going forward and we learn from the things. It's like, oh, didn't like that part. And so we just don't do that again.
Yeah. Well, let's not comb over where you are now, episode 890.
You are 897, sir.
So let's do a virtual high five, right?
Yay.
That is a huge, and first, let me just say congratulations on this
thank you.
huge accomplishment also, right? But you had to believe in yourself. You had to invest in yourself. And Warren Buffett says the best investment you can make is investing in yourself.
Right.
So you had to invest in yourself in order to position yourself to where you are today.
Right.
Someone like myself is circling the calendar so that I can be here on your platform, on your podcast.
I love it. So much fun. Yep.
Yeah. So you have to invest in yourself. And along the way, we spoke about the journey. We spoke about being patient. Now, to anyone that is listening, I want to be 100% honest and transparent with everyone. On this journey, it may take some time and it may take a toll on you. So I want you to understand that it may cause some being burnt out. So just in case you may not be aware of the symptoms of being burnt out while you're on the journey, and we're going to get to how we recover from being burnt out. First, I want everyone to be aware of the symptoms. So first, it would be feeling exhausted. Right? Feeling exhausted. Next, it would be feeling empty. Feeling empty. Feeling mentally drained. These are the symptoms. Having no motivation.
Right. You wake up and go,
I don't want to do it. Feeling stressed out. Feeling stressed out. Feeling what most people feel is self-doubt. Can I really do this?
Right.
Is anyone listening?
Yeah. Am I wasting my time and my money?
Wasting my time. I could be doing something else. I'm not seeing the results that I thought I would see. Feeling alone because the journey can make you feel like you're the only one that's doing it. So now that we touched on the symptoms of...
Yeah, let's fix it.
Let's fix it. And these are the tips for recovering from being burnt out. The first I would suggest is meditate.
Okay.
Do some meditation. Take 10 minutes out of your day, preferably first thing in the morning, and try to declutter your mind. Try to eliminate the negative chatter and replace it with positive strips, such as the good things that has occurred in your life. Take a picture of that and hold that picture in your mind. Next would be exercise.
Right. You talk about being healthy in your book.
Right. Your health is wealth in so many ways. So if you can, take 30 minutes going on a walk, maybe the treadmill. And if you can't do 30 minutes at one time, maybe break it up in increments.
Right.
And one of the things that I suggest to my clients is take a mental health day off.
Mm-hmm.
It is mandatory. It is so necessary. You know, I'm amazed with so many people that rack up this PTO time instead of investing in themselves.
Right. Yeah. Why not take a day off here and there, or more than a day?
Or more than a day. So I don't take a mental health day off. I try to take mental health a week off. So if you can, take the mental health day off. I think out of all the tips that I mentioned for the road to recovery for being burnt out, the most important would be take a mental health day off. Because of what we have experienced in these recent years, it's more important now that we take advantage of these mental health days.
And those are days where you're not on your phone, you're not on Facebook, you're not listening to the news because the news is icky. You're doing something good and fun.
Yeah. Quality time. Quality time. I had a client that came to me, and she was experiencing a lot of back pain. And I asked her, what does your schedule look like when you get up in the morning? And she said, well, before I even get up in the morning, Darryl, before I even get out of bed, I'm experiencing the back pain.
Oh.
So after several sessions, I realized that when she get up in the morning, Deb, the first thing she does is grab her cell phone. And she's reading her emails. She's catching up on everything that has occurred in the world. So I asked her, or suggested to her, why don't we just try one thing for a week? Let's not pick up that phone. Let's do some meditation. From 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Just if you can, carve out some time. Maybe get up earlier. Some may have kids and he can't get up, or they can't get up that early. So maybe get up a little earlier before the kids, or before the house wakes up. And try to meditate 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just clear your mind. Because the minute you grab that phone, you're allowing so much access to you, so much negative energy to your environment. So let's try leaving the phone on the nightstand. I would prefer that you leave it out the room, take it out the room, but that may not be feasible for most. So wake up before you put your feet on the floor. Just meditate for maybe 10 minutes. So we went from waking up in the morning, meditating, still not touching the phone. Mind you, she's still not touching the phone. That we added another 5 more minutes. So now we're at 15 minutes. And she goes into the bathroom and she does what I suggest to your listeners, some mirror work.
Some affirmations.
So now we're at 15 minutes. 15 minutes out of your life. Meditation, looking in the mirror, doing some affirmations. I am, I will, I can. And just repeat it. And after that's done, playing some music that's going to relieve any type of stress. So again, we go back to the 80-20 rule. We're applying 20% of our time to things that's going to have a huge impact on our personal development. Prior to that, she was using 80% of her time to contribute to her personal development, but it was actually a negative
Mhm.
80.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. She was bringing herself down before she ever started her day.
Right. Right. So it's important that we do these exercises. So after we are into 15 minutes, now she's waking up with no pain in her back.
Yeah. Yeah, because that stress was gone, right?
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And I can speak to this point, Deb, because when my father had took his last breath and it shook my foundation, I too woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror, but it was a different experience. I woke up, looked in the mirror, and the left side of my face was paralyzed.
Oh.
And it still is. So after visiting several doctors, they diagnosed me with Bell palsy. And the reason why I had the Bell palsy is because I was burnt out, stressed out,
Right.
and I didn't have a plan. So after experiencing this is when I began to implement my 4-step self-investment method. And I'm here to say that if your listeners implement these steps into their life and their business, they will have a huge impact on their life and their business.
Right. And it is that investing in yourself, that self-investment.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's the best investment you can make.
Right.
That's the best investment you can make.
Right. Well, and it also includes things like, say listening to podcasts, reading and watching the right type of things. I very rarely listen to the news. It's just not, and we're in Atlanta. So folks, there's a lot of icky news going on down here. Right? There's just some little bit of stuff going on in Atlanta. But yeah, and I try not to watch TV shows where it's going to be like that. Do I need to do it more? Yes. I need to do much more uplifting, and that's obviously where for many people their faith comes in,
Right.
and so, even if you're not doing organized religion, it is still, the affirmations, all of those things, that is having faith in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. 73% of people have stated that they are now more conscious of needing self-care.
Yeah, I think COVID just really scared a lot of people.
Yes. 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 So the best thing you can do is, and I'm saying it, reiterating it, but investing in yourself. So the left side of my face is still paralyzed. So every morning is a reminder to invest in myself. So there was a movie with Superman, and Lois Lane was in a helicopter, and the helicopter crashed into the building, and she's falling from the helicopter, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs, "Dev, help me!
Right?
Help me! Help me!" And out of nowhere, Superman appears and scoops her up. Right? I love the sound effects there.
Oh, you got to have sound effects.
And he scoops her up and he says, "Don't worry, Lois. I got you. I got you." And Lois Lane looks at him and says, "What if you got me? Who got you?
Who's got you?
Who's got you?" So we're trying to be Superman to everyone else, as I did.
Right.
We're saying yes to everyone else, as I did. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners are doing. So many of us are walking around with the weight of the world on our shoulders. But the question is, if you got everyone else, then who has you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I say that to say this. Help is available.
Mm-hmm.
Help is available.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a story of the drowning man. So the drowning man is on his roof.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure some of your listeners and viewers are familiar
Mm-hmm.
with the story. But the drowning man is on the roof. And the town is submerged in water.
Mm-hmm.
He's praying to God. Help me, God. I have faith that I know you will help me.
Mm-hmm.
So a rowboat comes by and he says to the man, get in. I'm here to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And the man says, no, that's okay. I'm waiting for God. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to help me. And the rowboat goes away. And he's still praying to God for
Mm-hmm.
help. Now, a motorboat comes along and says, get in. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to help you. And the man turns him down, Deb.
Right. No.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I have faith in God. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to help me. And the motorboat goes away. And he's praying to God and still
Mm-hmm.
asking God for help.
Right.
And now you hear this noise,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a helicopter hovering over the man.
Mm-hmm.
And they drop the rope down and says, grab the rope.
Mm-hmm.
And the man says, no,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I have faith in God. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to help me. So the helicopter goes away.
Mm-hmm.
The man drowns in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets to heaven, and he says to God, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
I was asking for your help. And God says, I sent you to help. What
Mm-hmm.
was you waiting for?
Mm-hmm. I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter, dude.
I see two boats in a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
So what I gathered from that is help comes in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be in the form that you're expecting,
Right.
but help is available.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this to say to your listeners and viewers, take advantage of the help
Mm-hmm.
that is in front of you.
Right.
Take advantage of the help
Mm-hmm.
that is at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like you were saying earlier, there is nothing wrong with asking for that help.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're weak. It doesn't mean we're stupid. It doesn't mean any of those things. If anything, it means we're smart. We're
Right.
smart enough to say, hey, we can't get through this alone.
Right. Right. Yeah. Winners ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Champions ask for help.
Right.
Right. Coaches ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Therapists ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
A coach needs a coach. A therapist needs a therapist. Mm-hmm. Right. A boxer needs a coach.
Right.
The Williams sisters, Serena and,
Mm-hmm.
and Venus.
They have coaches.
Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan
Mm-hmm.
had a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods had a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go on to several winners and champions. Floyd
Right.
Mayweather
Mm-hmm.
had a coach.
Mm-hmm.
But they asked for help. That's what
Right.
they had in common.
Mm-hmm.
They asked for help, and
Mm-hmm.
help was available.
And they accepted it.
They accepted
when
it.
those people said, you should do this,
Right.
they said, okie dokie.
Right. Right. So that's the most important, is that when you do ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
Be aware that your coaches have your best interests.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
My goal, and I think we all have something in common, we all want a peace of mind and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal for my clients is to see that they achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
A peace of mind and happiness,
Mm-hmm.
always in all ways.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And it's interesting, and I know you did this deliberately. I went to your website, and we're talking about self-investing, and in big letters in the middle of your website, it says, if you are what you eat, then feed me greatness. And I love that. Because It's what we take in. If we're taking in good and great and good information, all those various things, it's only going to make us stronger. But if we're feeding ourselves ick, whether it's, we're playing video games all day or hanging with the wrong people, all of that stuff, then we're not going to be great.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Anyone that is listening to our voice right now, this is their diet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I ask my clients is, what is your diet?
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh, well, I may eat some salad and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What is your daily intake?
Mm-hmm.
Are you listening to the Business Power Hour? Are you listening to things that are uplifting?
Mm-hmm. Are you reading Darryl's books?
Are you reading my books? What investments are you making?
Mm-hmm.
Tangible investments, mental investments,
mm-hmm.
spiritual investments. What investments are you making? Because we have to understand the decisions that we make today, generations to come should be able to benefit from.
Right.
And these decisions come from our daily intake. Again, like you said, you don't watch the news, right? So when I say that to people, they say, well, how do you find things out? And I say, well, the sheep will always bring it to me.
Right. And a lot of it you don't need to know. Let's be honest.
Right. So if it doesn't align with the investments that I'm making in myself, in my family, and in others. So as they always say, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Right.
If I'm not able to put the oxygen mask on myself, I'm not able to help my clients.
Right. Right.
If I'm not setting that example of being the best version of myself, then I'm just wasting my clients' time. Not even my clients, my family, because I always say that someone is always watching you, Deb. It's up to you. What are you going to show them?
Right. Right.
So show them that you're investing in yourself. Show them that your diet of greatness is a diet that you can go to your podcast. You can read books. You can surround yourself with like-minded people.
Right. Well, speaking of surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you've got a chapter in your book, and it's called "The Bigger Your Dreams Become, the Smaller Your Circle Gets." Yes. So tell us about that.
Yeah, the bigger your dreams become, the smaller your circle gets. As I stated earlier, that not everyone is going to understand your journey, especially if they see you as, this is the person that I know. This person, for instance, I was in telecommunications for several years. Luckily, I was able to retire at 51 years old. So, but while I was on this journey, people couldn't understand the journey that I was on. I had created a 10-year exit strategy at the age of 41. So at times, people may have looked at me as being antisocial, right? But it wasn't antisocial. That's the difference of antisocial and being focused.
Right.
I was focused on this 10-year exit strategy.
Right. And going out for drinks with the buddies might not have been on that list.
Indeed, it was not. It was not. And it's a great point that you mentioned that, because I did stop drinking when I made this decision. Now,
I mean, that's one of those distractions, right?
That's one of those distractions. That's one of those sacrifices. So what I always say to my clients is that, what are you willing to sacrifice? Sometimes, being that you're trying to create this dream, this big dream for yourself and your family and your team, you have sacrifices, and the sacrifices may involve leaving or not socializing with some of the people you were socializing with previously.
Especially those toxic people, right?
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So nothing against them because they have their mindset
Right.
on the things that, and at one time, and I want to make sure that everyone understands this. People come into your life, people and things come into your life for reasons and seasons.
Right.
Too many times we try to make them permanent. So at the time when I had relationships with other people, we may have had things in common. Maybe it was the job.
Right.
Maybe there were other things that we liked. But as I began to move in a different direction, our relationships became distant. And that brings to me the point to your dreams become, the bigger your dreams become, the smaller your circle gets. And your circle may consist of family members that you were around for so many years, but because your mindset has shifted, the relationships have become distant. But that's fine. That's okay because you are on a journey. And I wrote an open letter one time when I had a show, and I had said, I appreciate you if you're here when I get back, but I'm going on a journey. And I appreciate you if you're here when I get back. I appreciate you if you're not here when I get back, but I'm going on this journey. So the bigger your dreams become, the smaller your circles get, because not everyone's going to understand the sacrifice, and not everyone's going to understand your dream.
Well, and a lot of them are going to try and take them down. I mean, that's just kind of the sad, fact, whether they're jealous or, oh my gosh, Darryl, I'm just going to protect you and tell you you shouldn't be doing that. Right. We grew up with that. Now, if they're telling me don't touch that hot stove, that's probably, but we're going to touch it anyway. But yeah, that there are people who think they're helping and they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up as a young girl being told, oh, girls don't go into science. Girls don't do this. Girls don't do that. And I remember looking at them thinking, well, that's stupid, but they really did think that they had my best interests at heart. And then, like I said, there are those who are jealous, because you're leaving them, you're leaving the neighborhood, you're, all of those various things. And so they're going to say, in many cases, some pretty nasty things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's my book. That's what actually led me to writing my book, Mr. and Mrs. Distraction. Because Mr. and Mrs. Distraction are the ones in your life that I call the dream snatchers.
Right.
Right. The naysayers, the haters. But we have to understand, and it took me a while to understand it, that Mr. and Mrs. Distraction are people that are just projecting their fears.
Right.
That's all it is. But I say to everyone that can hear our voice, keep dreaming and keep dreaming big, and dream so big that it scares you. And like your shirt says, do good stuff.
I know. See, this for those who are on the video, my shirt says do good stuff. And for those who are just listening, it's very cute.
I love it.
Yep. And it is so interesting because we're gonna have to have you on again, because this is we've just got so many things. We've just scratched the surface on this, because some of this is financial literacy and things like that. We're not going to have nearly enough time to be able to discuss a lot of that. But it's part of that, though, is that whole thing. I mean, if you're worried about paying your mortgage, how are you going to eat? Are they going to come get my car? You can't focus on being great. And so you have to take care of yourself and maybe your family and things like that, but from a financial perspective.
Yeah, we've already went through the process of self-investment, right? So once we reach that process, we have to start thinking about financial literacy, financial freedom. So my book, you need an income not a job.
Mm-hmm.
You need an income, not a job.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting, start creating.
Mm-hmm.
We have been raised where that you should go to a school, get a job, and work for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. And get that non-existent gold watch.
Right, right. And that way of thinking is archaic
mm-hmm.
and fallible.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do now is create that mind shift
mm-hmm.
of saying to, especially the newer graduates that have graduated this year,
mm-hmm.
that when you come out of school, instead of thinking of a job search, start thinking of a income search.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How do we create multiple streams
mm-hmm.
of income?
Mm-hmm.
How do we create passive income?
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many ways that we can do it nowadays, where such as purchasing, investing in a real estate,
mm-hmm.
turn that real estate, a rental property, a duplex,
mm-hmm.
a multiplex, a quad, into a cash flowing,
right.
and that's passive income.
Mm-hmm.
They have companies such as peerspace.com,
mm-hmm.
where that you can rent out your home
mm-hmm.
for magazine shoots,
right. mm-hmm.
video shoots,
mm-hmm. movies,
commercials,
mm-hmm.
movies. That's creating passive income.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many ways that we can create passive income.
Mm-hmm.
They even have a company that you can receive passive income from robocalls. It's called robocalls.cash. So we get so many of these robocalls
mm-hmm.
that are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is go to that company. They have a template,
mm-hmm.
and they will show you how to go after these companies,
mm-hmm.
and these companies will pay you to be quiet.
Hmm.
They will pay you so that they don't have to be publicly humiliated
mm-hmm.
that they were breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many various ways
mm-hmm.
that you can create passive income,
mm-hmm.
multiple streams of income.
Right.
I just mentioned three
mm-hmm.
different
mm-hmm.
forms of income. You can create a live stream on YouTube
mm-hmm.
with motivational videos,
mm-hmm.
music videos.
Mm-hmm. You can write books.
You can write books. You have a great voice like Deb here, and you can create a audio book.
Mm-hmm.
You can loan your voice out, or people can hire you
mm-hmm.
to use your voice for audio books.
Right.
So these are several different forms of passive income
mm-hmm.
while creating multiple streams of income.
Right. Well, and just like the other things that we've been talking about, for the most part, it's not a get rich quick scheme. These are things that take a while. They take work, folks. It's not that you can, just say, hey, we're going to do this. It takes work. Even if you're an affiliate marketer or partner and things like that, there are still things you have to do.
Yes. And
it's almost never set it and forget it. How many times have we gone to something and we click the link and it's bad information? It's, you get the 404, site does not exist or things like that, because nobody ever stopped to check. Hey, right. Is this still there? But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that we should be developing sustainable income and not depending on, hey, getting a paycheck from, ex-employer every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Let me add to that is you don't need a job to survive. Mm-hmm. You need income to survive.
Yes.
And let me make sure they get that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a job to survive. Mm-hmm. You need an income to survive. Mm-hmm. And I want everyone to understand, I'm not suggesting that you go out and quit your day job. Mm-hmm. I'm only recommending that you create multiple streams of income.
Right. And you very well may need that day job.
Right.
Because, you're setting stuff up. I mean, don't quit. You might you need your insurance. I mean, all these various things, but it may get you to the point where you can retire early or you could quit. And I think that's one of the big problems that we saw after COVID with all these people quitting.
Right.
And they were not set up to be able to do that, whether it was emotionally, financially, all of those things. I mean, that was just not going to happen. And so they had to, go back and get that dreaded job again.
Yeah, as I stated earlier, I had a 10-year exit strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was a process. I had to
Mm-hmm.
trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a 10-year exit strategy, and Malcolm Gladwell wrote an excellent book about the outliers, and it's 10,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me 10,000 hours to retire early.
Mm-hmm.
10,000 hours equate to 10 years.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But you have to trust the process.
Right.
You have to have a plan.
Right. And folks, buying a lotto ticket is not the thing to do. I mean, it's fun to do that, right? It's fun to dream. And that is part of this. And I wrote that in my notes too. Dream. It's okay to dream. Yes. Just don't figure that you're going to win the lottery.
Right.
So, well, oh my gosh, Darryl, this has been so much fun. I looked down and I went, oh my gosh, we only have 5 minutes left. This, like I said, we just have barely scratched the surface on this. I don't think we got to any of my questions that I'd written down. So that means we definitely have to have you on again. But, until then, how do people find you and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, I would say, first, let me just say this. Martin Luther King Jr. says, faith is taking the first step, mm-hmm. even when you don't see the whole staircase. Mm-hmm. Take the first step. Take the first step. Book a life coaching session. Mm-hmm. You can visit me at DarrylBumpassSr.com. You can find me on social media platforms at Darryl Bumpass Sr. And if you would like to invest in my books, you can visit DarrylBumpassSr.com or Amazon.com. Right. I look forward to hearing from you. I wish you all the success that is coming for you, and I will see you at the top. I love it. I love it. And we will have a link to your book, You Need an Income, Not a Job. Stop waiting, start creating. We'll have that link in the show notes. But, this really has been absolutely delightful. And really, when I discovered that you and I can have lunch because we live that close to each other, this is just so much fun. Can't wait to do that. I look forward to it. I know we're going to have a great time, right? We're going to be those people that they have to shoo out of the restaurant because they're closing. But, I always love to ask my guests for a final thought. So what would you like to leave everyone with? What I would like to leave everyone with is we touched on earlier. Remember these words. Remember these words. The Celestine prophecy says the problem in life isn't finding the right answer. It's identifying the right questions. Once you get the questions right, the answers will come. My question to you, to everyone that can hear our voice, if you are what you eat, then feed me greatness. What are you eating? Oh my gosh. I love it. So much fun. And I cannot wait to talk to you again. I'm Deb Creer. I've been having one of the most delightful conversations with Darryl Bumpass Sr. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.